Hey everyone, StormRulerB here, and as we all know, some exciting news has been traversing the Pokemon community over the last several months. The announcement of Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire has gotten me completely pumped. How it impacted my childhood life in a big way. I played countless hours of Pokemon Emerald on my Game Boy here. Although it isn't Ruby or Sapphire, you have to admit it is basically the same game. And arguably better than the originals. To see a region that impacted my life so drastically, coming up on the 3DS with fantastic graphics and hopefully an even better gaming experience, it's having me crying tears of joy, and not always metaphorically. Alright, enough rambling, let's head on to the countdown. Number 5. Mega Salamence. First off, I'd like to say that Salamence got ripped the heck off in X and Y. One of the best Pokemon ever, and no Mega? But hold on a second. You're telling me that this thing with a crocodile's mouth on the back of its head does? And this undesirable doll that was thrown away, it does too? But on to a more serious note though, Salamence made a huge impression on me when I was a kid. Remember how I said I played countless hours of Pokemon Emerald? Well, when I got Pokemon Emerald, it was from GameStop and it was a used copy. And it just so happened that the previous save file had a level 91 Salamence on it. And that Salamence was a boss. It was a destroyer of worlds. It could defeat Rayquaza in one hit. To a kid, what was more powerful than defeating the ultimate legendary? Nothing. Nothing at all. And that thing owned on Pokemon Emerald. That is until Pokemon Diamond and Pearl came out. That is until I found the Pal Park feature. And then Destroyer of Worlds was transferred to my new adventure in the Sinnoh region. Unfortunately, my Diamond cartridge with Destroyer of Worlds on it broke a few years ago. But fortunately, another Master of Disaster has taken over on my Pokemon Y version. It has joined my team and is there to stay. But guess what? It can't Mega Evolve. Why, Game Freak? Why? Number 4. Diving. This is by far one of the most unique and interesting mechanics of any Pokemon game. If you've ever played through a Pokemon game before, you're sure to have surfed atop the water's surface. But diving underneath the water to explore a whole new world on top of the already vast and diverse Hoenn region? Well, count me in. This mechanic is more likely than not to make it into the remakes, in my opinion, because of their necessity of getting into Sootopolis City and the Seafloor Cavern near the climax of the games. And sure, Generation 5's black and white versions made a half-hearted attempt at bringing the mechanic back, but it played absolutely no role in the game's completion. So nice try, Game Freak. You're not gonna be fooling me this time. You're gonna fool me this time! Number 3. An orchestral and/or symphonic soundtrack. These games easily have one of the best soundtracks in the entire series, and they were revolutionary after the 8-bit years on the Game Boy and Game Boy Color. But the transition from Generation 1 and 2's rather simple 8-bit music to Ruby and Sapphire's more complex and detailed melodies and beats was definitely a turning point for the franchise. And just imagine what the 3DS's audio capabilities could do with this. I guess I must be a little bit late with this hope, because there's actually already some themes being leaked. And they're amazing. Listen to this. And even though it isn't 100% certain that these will get into the final remakes, the fact that they're at least thinking about going back to these types of soundtracks is completely exciting. Number 2. Familiar faces. I guess this one's basically a given feature of the remakes because, I mean, come on, they're remakes, so we're going to see a lot of the same characters. But I just hope they don't cut out any memorable or important characters that would change the plot drastically. Especially characters like Wally, who I don't believe we've actually seen in any of the trailers. That kind of worries me. Not exactly because Wally was the most epic character ever, but I mean, who else might they cut? I'm relieved to see that Stephen Stone has returned, and he's actually gotten a much bigger role since the introduction of Megastones in X and Y. It seems as if some characters are actually going to be getting more important roles that actually add something to the game. What if Wally came back and was, say, the total boss from Pokemon Coliseum? Oh, okay, that's never going to happen.
Number 1.
An exciting storyline and aftergame. Ruby and Sapphire were the first games to totally stray away from the norm. They introduced so many new and unique mechanics, so many new and unique Pokemon that were unlike Generation 1 and 2's, and so much more. But the thing that really takes the cake for me is the story. Pokemon games before it only had one crime organization, Team Rocket, who was just out there for the money and the valuables. Now, you have to stop two crime organizations who aren't just duking it out with you, the player, but each other. Now, the introduction of Primal Groudon and Primal Kyogre is sure to add something to the storyline there, but just imagining the vast number of possibilities that could enhance the plot is very stimulating, and quite frankly, it's actually fun. And while X and Y were actually fantastic games, they had really no aftergame. And Ruby and Sapphire actually had that same problem too. Hopefully, all that actually missed in X and Y will be made up for in full in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. But now, with the vast number of legendaries we have available, there are many opportunities to add them into these games. You know that Shrouded Mystery Island up north in Lily Cove? I don't know, what could that bring? Maybe Giratina? I don't know. Nobody will know until these games come out. And that's probably the most fun part of all. Not knowing what Pokemon will get Mega Evolutions. Not knowing how the storyline will turn out. The hype train right now is insane. Speculations and predictions are through the roof. And we're all along for the ride. I would like to greatly thank you for watching my first video. I encourage you to leave a like down below and to possibly subscribe, as I have a lot of future content much like this that I hope to bring to you guys. And since these are all my opinions, I greatly appreciate that you leave anything that you think I missed, or just something that you hope for Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire in the comments section below. Alright, I'm StormRulerB, and I'm heading out.